bystanders, welcome to another exciting episode of An Angel and Her Unicorn comic book reviews. I'm Alan the Unicorn, and with me today is...
James. Just James.
Just James. I feel like I'm never going to be able to not repeat after you for some reason. It's like a compulsion. We will be reviewing the books for the week, our comic books of the week. If you have not read your books and you don't want spoilers, because we will spoil the crap out of it, you may want to...
I'm even going to spoil a movie.
Ooh. Big movie. Which movie is it?
Shazam.
Oh, spoiling Shazam. Well, I don't know. That's been out long enough. I feel like if you haven't watched it by now, it's your own dang fault. However, we will be spoiling everything, so if you don't want things spoiled, please pause, read your books, or watch your movie, and then come back, and then we will gladly carry on. Otherwise, come join us down the rabbit hole, and we will try to destroy everything and give our all unabashed, amazing, unsolicited opinions. So, you went to a con this week.
Yep, I went to Casey Fan Con. It was a smaller, mostly comics. They didn't really have any guests, but it was up in Lawrence, Kansas, and I found some good books and talked to a lot of people in the local and outreach comic community.
But you didn't sell anything, or you didn't have a booth or anything?
No, Carrie Stone had a booth, and Terry French was helping him out, and
so you had friends. That's
yeah.
Good. James knows somebody somewhere all the time. It's kind of creepy. So, and then do you want to spoil the movie before we get started?
Well, it ties into one of the books that I'm doing. So
very well, then we will get there. We will get there when we get to the book.
Yes.
But I'm going to start. I'm going to do The World Front. It's by Action Lab Danger Zone comic books, and they the story is Kurt Belcher and Rob Kroonburrows. So sorry. The writer is Kurt Belcher did the writing, and the art and colors are Rob. Best shot, last name. Good job, Rob. You're just Rob now. So in this book, it's kind of has a little bit of a weird feel to it. I'm not quite sure what they were going for. But reading it, I kind of thought it was a little bit hokey and a little bit cartoony. But then it had like this air, like this small little underlying thing of drama and seriousness. So I'm not quite sure where they were going to... They kind of fall somewhere weird in the middle. So it was an interesting book. It starts off with how like heroes are born. And talks about the first hero is this red cricket guy. And then he gets like sidekicks. And then it cuts to like a present day where it's almost like a Fantastic Four / Challengers of the Unknown kind of team, where it's like this team of people that are fighting these kind of paranormal things or invasions. It's like these bugs that are spitting acid and like they look like little larvae, but they're having trouble, and so they keep talking to their boss. Hey, call the big guys, call the superheroes, and because they're just kind of like, they seem to be kind of humans. They have weapons and fighting these things, and they're like, you need to call the superheroes, and the guy's like, no, we're fine, we'll be fine. No, I'm not calling the superheroes. Well, it turns out the superheroes are monitoring them anyway, so eventually when they get overrun, he's like, fine, and then they show up anyways. They introduced all the characters. They have a couple, like they have a Superman kind of character, a Green Arrow / Wonder Woman-ish character. She's kind of like a huntress with like, she's got like bows and arrows. They have like a bug lady that's like a ladybug. They have a insect human hybrid kind of guy, the larvae, and then they have like kind of like a big hulking creature, or sorry, the louse is what the insect guy's name is, and then like a big kind of hulking yeti creature. So they come in, they save the day, they help the guys out. They're back, and apparently the leader of the challengers, the kind of sciencey team characters, and the leader of the superhero team, which is like this all metal android guy, they kind of have a little tiff or rivalry. So they hilarity ensues. They get kind of upset. The superhero team breaks up kind of to go back to Earth and kind of go back about their lives. And they find out that the Laos, they start going kind of like through back history and like where everybody went. And it starts talking about the Laos and how he is he's kind of falling apart, becoming more bug-like. He ends up meeting up with the Ladybug girl, and she and him kind of have a conversation, and it looks like they're kind of doing the nasty, but the Laos actually has a family, so he's kind of adulterous trash.
He is truly a Laos.
He is truly a Laos. In name, not in name only. But he, while they are making out, all of a sudden something happens. So then they get another call that Ladybug is dead, and they are after the Laos now for her murder. So he's kind of been losing his humanity a little bit, I guess, in some.
So does he eat her, or you don't?
That's what kind of what you don't see. She just ends up like eviscerated.
They're making out, and then she's dead.
Right.
Okay.
He like has this little shocked look, and then that's the last panel's a shock look. And then they show the like kind of like the warrior woman. She shows up and she's kind of like a tracker. So she's trying to, and she looks at Ladybug's body, and they figure out that they're trying to find the Laos. So
and he's
like, it looks like he's eating part of her intestines at the end.
Munch.
Exactly. So I think he's like,
So good wholesome family book.
Exactly. Everybody should enjoy this one. Get the kids in on this. It should be a lot of fun. I actually thought it was kind of neat. I mean, like there's some similarities where I feel like a familiarity to the characters, but then I also like the story. The art was a little hard for me sometimes. Some of it's really stylistic and cartoony and has its own vibe to it. Very sketchy vibe. It looks like they sketched out really a lot, but some of the panels are really hard to tell what's going on, and then some of them look really, really good. Like, I really like the stylized, it works well for the book, but then I just don't think the consistency is quite there on all of it, so it kind of takes you out of it a little bit. So it's kind of hard to get the kind of general feel of the book. But I'm definitely going to pick up number 2. I thought that was an interesting book. And then it's got a little Wild West story at the end. That's a little like, it's just a little throwback story that was kind of, it was okay. But the main book was pretty entertaining. Enough for me to pick up the second issue. So I'm curious to see where they're going to go with this. If they're going to make it more of like a kind of lighthearted, weirdish kind of book, or if they're going to make it more of a serious, kind of darker book. I mean, like if they're going to follow the vein of him eating her intestines for most of the book, I may be on board a little bit longer because it's kind of messed up. But all in all, I think I enjoyed it. The art, I just wish the art was a little more consistent. But 4 out of 5 unicorn horns. It was something new and exciting, which I love number 1s. So you just never know what you're gonna get. So yeah, I thought it was pretty good. Fun book. All right, you go.
So the first book I'm going to review is Age of Conan Bêlit. It's by Tinny Howard, and you thought your name was hard to pronounce. Kate.
Kate, bunch of vowels.
Not enough vowels. Too many consonants. Nimsiki. I apologize profusely. And Scott Hanna and Jason Keith. I've reviewed this one before. It's I reviewed number 1.
And this is number 3.
Yeah. It's an old character from the she was in the old comics and I assume the books. So she was the daughter of a leader of one band of pirates, and her father was killed, and she was going to be sold into slavery, and she was rescued by another group of pirates. She's always felt like she needs to fight sea monsters. I'm not certain why, but
I have that feeling some days.
yeah. So in the first couple books, she's sold into slavery. She's rescued. She joins this crew. She claims ownership of her father's old ship, but the pirates that rescue her said, well, you may own it, but I'm going to be the captain. You're too young to be the captain. So then they come upon a sea monster and they kill it. And so this one starts. She's she had this plan. If they drag the carcass of the sea monster into port and lie about where they killed the sea monster, they will tell this port that, well, there's sea monsters everywhere and your ships are going to get destroyed, but we know how to fight sea monsters and we'll protect you for a price.
It sounds like a pretty good idea. Like
so
a racket.
Yeah, so kind of a racket. The leader of the leader of the settlement that they went into has some necromancy skills. So she raises the sea monster from the dead, and she's like, okay, you say you fight sea monsters, prove it. So while everybody else is running, Bêlit runs up and re-kills the sea monster. So the town agrees to fund their adventures. So then they kind of do a little montage. It's a montage.
I wish that.
And then a couple, several years go by, and she's kind of coming into her own. She's got more and more of the crew are saying that they fight and die for her, but
reputation.
But the other captain is still the captain of the ship, so they're always clashing. She's like, I'm the leader, and he's like, I'm the captain. And so it's several years later. She gets a note from the settlement that was funding them, and said, since you left, we haven't seen any more sea monsters, so we're gonna quit funding you because we think you're messing with us. So she wants to go kill another sea monster or lure a sea monster back to the settlement to reestablish herself. And the captain's like, okay, scam's over. It's time to run. That's what we do. So he challenges her to a duel.
Oh, duel at high noon.
Yeah, well, at dawn. Because that's when pirates clash. And the captain has a first mate who's a big, burly gal. And she's like, the best of us. She's the noble one. And so she's going to take the captain's place because the captain's drunk. And Bêlit's, I don't want to fight you. And so the captain comes out and he's like, well, drunken brawl, that's what pirates do. So they're duking it out, and she's getting ready to kill the captain and
deliver the final blow. Finish him.
And the first mate jumps in, and she accidentally kills the first mate.
No.
So, Um, so her and the captain fight some more, and she ends up killing him. So she's gonna take over as the captain, and
seems fair.
Yeah. So they sail off into the night, and then there's been a mysterious stranger that has been following her, and it's revealed that he was her father's advisor, first mate, that he's trying to find her to join up with her and continue to serve the family. So I liked it.
Art is beautiful.
I didn't read the original issues. Apparently, the original issues, the art was like museum level gorgeous, and really? This is a little more simplistic, but I like it. It works. It's a coming of age story, and she feels that she's got this calling. Both she's got the calling to fight the monsters and her father's legacy, and and to avenge him, and so but a lot of people, you're too young, you can't be a captain, you don't have the experience. So but then she's got all these people that are willing to fight and die for her. So they said, you own the ship, but you're not even strong enough to turn the wheel. So I enjoyed it. I'd give it a 3 horns. And then there in the back of every issue is a little small part of a novella by Michael Stackpole, and he's an author that I enjoy. So
that's awesome.
So you get a little double duty. So
get to read part of the novel. And that's pretty cool.
So
nice. Very nice. All right, I'm going to do Excellence by Image. Another number 1. Brandon Thomas is the creator and writer, and Carrie Randolph is also a creator and an artist. So this one kind of has it's very magical, like Wizards kind of feel, and it sets up at the beginning that some establishes some rules at the beginning that you have to have a spell, or you have to have a wand to cast spells.
So Harry Potter.
You have to have a so it's the protection and defense of the universe is not allowed, or is not allowed. Undeserving. The protection of the undeserving. So if you can't help bad guys. The creation of a magician's wand without permission is not allowed. So if you don't have permission to make a wand, then you don't get any wand. The casting of spells without an approved wand is not allowed, and the use of magic by females is not allowed. So lots of rules that are kind of a little bit overseeing this magical community.
Are they magical rules of they can't be broken, or are there people rules where you can break them, you just get in trouble?
I don't know quite yet. They haven't brought into that. I think that's obviously a big part that they'll probably have conflict later, although I don't know if I'll get that far. But so this book starts off with they start off with a birth, and it is this birth of this baby that is in a huge magical family line. So the dad's really good, and he wants a son, and it's his son, and he's gonna have all these powers and all this stuff, and he needs to be protected. And then it kind of does a montage where it kind of goes through his age, like age 1. Age 1, the dad's kind of watching him, and then it just keeps going on and on. And the older the boy gets, the less and less, or the more the parents realize that he's not super magically inept individual. So he's not really he's not going to be the magical prodigy that everybody thinks.
The Heisman Trophy winner's son can't play football.
Right, exactly. So the mom and the dad are obviously arguing over it, and the son, the dad starts favoring another student that has more promise, and so he kind of starts paying more attention to this other kid, and the son gets more and more resentful as he gets older, and then he ends up as he finally gets old enough and becomes of age, he kind of becomes powerful. So he's ready to kind of take his place beside his dad, and he has this really heartfelt moment with his grandmother, and his grandmother's like, you need to go do what you need to do, be ready to do what you for the good of people, and so it's kind of like another coming of age book. So he goes in and he's getting ready to start these trials. These trials are once you start them, you can't be done until they're done. So he's either has to die or he has to succeed. So he's going through and kind of fighting things as he goes along, and he's supposed to protect a certain person. So this person is not supposed to know he's there, and he is supposed to help them achieve whatever they need to achieve. And the thing that he needs to achieve is this girl and this guy need to have they need to have a kiss, and because he's supposed to do important things, and if she's not with him, then he doesn't do these important things. So one wizard is trying to stop them, and then the other wizard is trying to kind of save them. Well, he ends up saving them, but it is at an expense of one of the rules. Like, they kind of get seen, and so he's kind of gets in trouble for it. So they are still trying to figure things out and see if he is going to be capable to do what he needs to be, or what he's able to do. And his grandmother passes away, and then he's hoping that he's not too late to kind of stop all this other stuff. So it gets kind of confusing, some of the stuff. So I'm not for sure. I'm not for sure if it was just because I didn't read it well enough. Like, I didn't read it, I didn't read a lot into it, or if it wasn't just the writing wasn't as linear as I'd like it to be. But it wasn't. I was hoping for more. And it didn't seem like, I don't know, it just didn't catch my interest. Not that it was bad, it just wasn't something that I was I thought would be real as good as I want it to be. I really like the art. The art is very stylized. Everybody has a very clear face. Most of the cast is African American, and they all look amazing. I love the style that they try to give them, a more kind of Afro magician, hip, sleek look, which I really liked. All the clothing and the choices of the moment between his grandmother and him is the grandmother is lining him up, so she's kind of making sure that his hair is perfect. And I love that, because that is very much a kind of in that ethnic world, and I loved it. I loved that kind of moment. I thought it was really kind of real, and that was probably one of my favorite parts about the book. But some of the other stuff, I feel like, I don't know if it was just forced or if it seemed a bit more like a trope. I don't know. But the art is really fantastic, and the premise is kind of interesting, but I just don't know. I just couldn't get into it. If I see number 2 and I think about it, I may try number 2 and see if I can get into it a little bit more. But as of right now, it was just kind of a middle road book. But I don't know. So I'd give probably 2.5 unicorn horns. Not quite a 3, because I probably would have carried it on. So we'll see. It has promise, and the art's awesome. Really, really interesting to look at. So, yeah.
I feel kind of similar about my second book. I want it to be better than it is.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, it's called The Last Space Race.
Oh, okay. Thank God. I thought it was gonna be.
Let me find it. It is by Peter Calloway. and Alex Shabao.
Shabao!
It's from
That's a great name.
Aftershock Comics. The central premise is that astronomers found an object out near Saturn, and its trajectory shows that it's from outside the solar system, and it's radiating more heat than it should be, so they think it's a spaceship and that it's hot because of engines. So they're like, well, anybody that can manage an interstellar spaceship has higher technology than us, so we need to get there and loot said technology.
Oh.
So
it's a wholesome, again,
the
wholesome premise.
So the U.S. is putting together a ship to go out there, and they recruit a kind of Elon Musk type character. You meet him in the first book, and it's implied that he had a personal tragedy with his daughter, that his daughter died or was taken or something. They don't spell it out, but so they come to him, tell him about this thing, and he says, so you want me to build a ship that can get to Saturn? He said, I'll do it, but I want to go with you. And they stipulate that we don't have the technology to get to Saturn and back, so whoever goes, it's a one-way trip. So,
I bet they had a lot of volunteers for that one.
Well, this is issue 4. Issues 2 and 3, each issue seems to delve into the backstory of one of the crew, and then it tells a little of the story. There's one of the other members is kind of a rival of the Elon Musk type character. There's kind of a grudging respect, but they don't really get along with each other. And then there's then there's pilots, and so I think it's going to end up being about 6 people, but like the pilot girl was kind of a rebel, and was encouraged to do her own thing, and so
you got the military guy.
Yeah. So coming up into that point, so there's that they list all the people, and then they announce one of them is a saboteur, because so in the 4th book they had kept the ship a secret. Well, in the 4th book they announced it on CNN. Somebody saw this ship and got a picture of it and announces it to the world. So the secret's out. So you assume other countries are trying to
get to the ship
to also get to the ship first. So they're working on constructing the ship and getting ready to leave. the and then it flashes back to the main character. It doesn't matter what his name is, but I'll call him Elon. I'll probably get sued.
We'll be shut down next week. Don't worry, there won't be an episode.
One of the episodes goes through his psychological profile, and the psychologist says, I can't recommend that this guy go because he wants to die. Because of the tragedy with his daughter. So she's like, that's why he volunteered for a one-way trip and all this stuff. But she says, when it comes right down to it, is he gonna fight to
survive
and save the rest of the crew? Is he just gonna let a sweet death? So as they're working on the ship, somebody notices a flash drive plugged into one of the computer controls that's not supposed to be there, and the control arm loses control, and it's heading right for the hydrogen and oxygen tanks.
That's not very good.
That's not very good.
It's not very good at all.
So they
oh gosh.
Yeah. He's
no, don't do it.
So the tanks explode, and so the main guy, his name's Sasha. So he
You're way off.
Elon Sasha. So
Samsonite. I was way off.
But he
jumps off and survives.
Yeah, he jumps off, and he says, you've got to get the ship out of here now.
Otherwise,
he says, and the only way to get the ship out of here is to manually start the engines, and you have to be outside to manually start the engines, so you're gonna have to leave me behind. So he flies. He climbs around the outside of the ship and launches the ship, staying behind, and he's stuck in orbit with a exploded thing, and the ship takes off. So
he's the one that wanted to die anyways.
Yeah.
There you go. See, look.
But
granted,
he's on the cover of. They show the cover of the next issue, and he's on the cover of it. So I'm betting he's gonna survive and still be they've spent too much time
on him
digging into his character to just have him die and never be seen again. So they'll loop around and pick him up, or he'll have to save the ship. I don't know, but I've read a similar novel where they find something out around Saturn, and the U.S. and the Chinese are trying to get to it first. And I was hoping that this would be more like that, but right now it's a lot of personal dossiers and personal tragedy, and they're real slow. And what I want to see is them getting to the ship and all this advanced technology. Well, it's a book, so it's somebody's imagination of what alien technology would be. So you're only as good as your. It's just not what.
Not what you're hoping for. Yeah.
It's interesting, but I just wanted it to be more.
Yeah.
The art's. It's fairly basic art. One of my pet peeves, telling people apart. I can easily tell people apart in here. So, I'll give it a 2.5. I'll probably
bag.
Yeah, it's. I may read the next one or two, and
I really do feel like, I mean, a lot of people make fun of me, especially my friends. They're like, oh, they're building characters. Alan's gonna be upset. I'm like, it's not that building characters is a problem. Like, I don't mind you building your character. Like, if you have a TV show or if you have a book, you should build your characters. It's exactly what you should do. That's because you have to care about those people, or you have to care about those characters. But I feel like if you sit there and do it all in the first, like, 2 episodes, 3 episodes, I just want to cry now because nothing's happened.
If you do it to the exclusion of all else,
right? Like, you should be able to tell your story and be able to build these characters little bit by little bit, because that's what's fun. You should parcel it out. You should want to have these reveals where you're like, oh, now they're, you didn't know this, but they're claustrophobic. So, but now they're trapped underneath, a rubble. Oh no, and so then that's you can use that to delve into them. But there has to be a story. One of the things that I've been texting some of my friends with is I try to watch True Detective, with Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson, and I just cannot get into it. I've watched the first season, and like it was such a trudge to get through the first season, and my friends were like, "But the ending was so great," and I was like, "Yeah, but I had to wait 10 episodes to get to a good ending." Where like I had to wade through all this stuff to get there, and it was so by the time I got there, I just didn't care. I was just ready for it to be done with. Not that it wasn't a great ending, and not that it didn't have good parts, but like literally the first 2 episodes, it was monologue after monologue after monologue. It was Matthew McConaughey doing Matthew McConaughey for like an hour, and I'm like, I love Matthew McConaughey, I really do, and he's really great, and Woody Harrelson's really great, but man, it was just so boring and such a slow burn. I just was ready to be done with that one. So I feel like it hurt the end, and I was just, and then I've heard horrible things about the second season, so I'm not even gonna give into that.
I've heard the 3rd season comes back around.
They say that,
and
but
they're all self-contained.
Yes, but they said the first season or the 3rd season's a lot like the first season. I was like, why didn't I like the first season to begin with? So
I liked it.
Oh my gosh, it was so boring. I mean, like I said, like it had some really good parts and they had some really good story in there, but overall, I just didn't care. I was like, So back to comic books. So I'm gonna do Eve Stranger by Black Crown Comic Books, and it's another #1, and this will be my last one, I think. Right?
Yep.
And then the writer is Dave Barnett, and the artist is Philip Bond. So this book it starts off with the kind of this girl having, or this memory pops up, and it ends up being this girl's memory. And she wakes up from this kind of memory of her father, and there's a box on her bed. So she opens a box, and it's kind of this note to herself. So it's like a memory wipe where she doesn't quite know what's going on. So she's reading this note, and throughout the book, it's this note's talking about the things that she's like. She goes, hey, your memory's gonna be gone, but this is what we do. We write this book so that we can know more stuff the next day. And take the gun, put the gun away, grab your credit card, you should be good. And she goes, you'll know how to do things, and you won't know how you'll know them. So it just kind of like starts going through the explanation of what's happening. So it's basically she wakes up with no memory, except she's reading this book. Well, this guy tries to assassinate her. He says his room service. And the one thing in the book was like, you never order room service. And so like she turns around, she like kicks him, and she's like, who do you work for? Well, she kills him, and then she goes. It says, "Don't get the cops. It never helps. You always try to get the cops. It never is gonna help." So what she do? She goes get the cops. Cops come up. Everything's cleaned up. Everything like they grab the body, and she's like, "This is It goes back to the note. This is what they do. They clean up their mess. You're not gonna be caught. You just quit trying." And then he goes, and above all, don't go to the hospital. It's not gonna help. She goes, and don't let them take their blood. So, of course, what does she do? She goes to the hospital. So they take her blood, and the blood explodes. So, like, pops. And part of the note was she has to get to this hotel by Thursday in order to take a injection. She goes, in the note it says, if you don't get to the hotel by the Thursday and take this injection, you will die. So it's like, this is her goal, is trying to get to this hotel. And they said, when you get to the hotel, you have to accomplish this mission. So it kind of sets up this president. There's a timeline that she needs to get through. So in the midst of this, this guy walks in his boss's office, and he has this pill marked Eve, EVE, with little periods in between. So I'm sure it stands for something. And the boss is like, he gives it to the boss. He's like, it's addressed to you, and he's like, well, I'm not gonna take it. He goes, you take it. He goes, I'm not stupid enough to take it. So the boy takes it, and he's like, all of a sudden all this information pops in his head, and it's just like all this stuff of like where everything's located, where they need to go, what the mission is, what they need to do, what he needs to do to kind of get his kind of get what their goal is. And it says, oh, and by the way, you can't tell anybody. If you do, there will be consequences. So the boss is like trying to shake the boy. He's like, tell me where it's at. Tell me where it's at. And he goes, it's at. And all of a sudden his head like explodes. And so like the boss is scared to take the pill because obviously he causes calls the secretary. He's like, get somebody else in here stupid enough to take this pill. So they, that's kind of like I'm assuming will come in at a later point. But it doesn't come back up in this book yet. So she goes. She has a card. It's kind of unlimited. She's got a limited expense accounts. So she rents a motorcycle, and she's like, yeah, I have a feeling this is my first motorcycle anyways. Because the guy's like, can you ride this? She's like, psh, got it. So they have some flashbacks of her and her dad, and she meets this guy just like, cool bike, and she's like, thanks. And so she drives off. The guy picks the phone. He's like, she got another motorcycle again. So apparently she's been doing this multiple times. They cut to the Eve Project, where it's this old lady kind of going over this like PowerPoint about how the Eve Project works. And, if you want to hire her, you need to get on board. And she goes, it's 10 million. So, she can do whatever you need done, so on and so forth. So it cuts back to Eve. She's trying to get to this hotel. She ends up Thursday. She gets to this place. The mission that she's supposed to accomplish is she's supposed to get the bad guys. So she kills the bad guys, but she ends up rescuing these children. And then she gets back to the hotel, and she's like, "I'm supposed to have a reservation." The guy gets her room, and it shows the guy that had seen her on the motorcycle before. He's in the hotel, like kind of looking at her. So, interesting little story.
What's it called again?
Eve Stranger. The art's really entertaining. It is very cartoony and stylized. I really, really like it. It has some great expressions in there. The characters all kind of look different, so I really like that. It's one of the things that James hates. And the story's kind of interesting, even though it's very much a very kind of trope where, and the girl wakes up, now she's brainwashed, and then she has to figure it out. It's like kind of a Notebook kind of, so I think it works for this book, though. It's kind of interesting because you don't know who these people are after her, and she doesn't even know anybody's after her. She just thinks she's just doing what she's told. So, and I think it's kind of got a little bit of that humor where it's like, don't call the police. So what's the first thing she does? She's like, you always get the police. Please don't get the police. And she's like, so she goes and gets the police. And so it was very entertaining and cute. So I thought I really liked it. So I'll definitely pick up issue 2 and see where it's going to go from there. And hopefully they can pick it up a really good premise and storyline to go along with it. But, future will tell. They also, in this, they have a lot of backups. A lot of advertisements as far as their little snippets of their other books. They also do a little one of the Eve Stranger Ace Reporter, so it's kind of this really Sunday morning cartoon comic book strip in the paper look to it. Very very super cartoony, but it's she runs into this old lady, and this old lady's like, can you help me get my cat down? She's like, I can't, I'm too weak, I don't know if I'm able for that. So the lady calls, she's like, don't worry, I've called the fire department anyway. So the fire department shows up, and the guy rips his shirt off. He's like, I can help you with this. And she's like, this is what I'm talking about. So then they get the cat out, and then there's another problem. It's just like, oh, there's another problem down the road. Chief Goldfish, the goldfish is trapped in the dishwasher. So the other 2 guys that are with him rip off their shirts, and they go running down the street to get to the dishwasher. So yeah, it was pretty cute. But then it has like some other backups. London Calling, it kind of has a preview for that. Let's see, they have a preview for Assassinistas, which I think is done. This is just previewing, I think, one of their old books that they used to have. I've read that, and that was it's pretty fun and kind of interesting. It is not, if you can find it for cheap, it's worth it. It's just kind of a fun read. But if it's something that you're looking forward to, thinking that it's going to be really serious or anything like that, it's not. It's like, it is the most non-serious, non-linear, kind of awkward book that you can find. But yeah, so lots of number ones. There's quite a few, but I'll finish those. I'll let you finish your last one, and then we'll go over the pull list real quick.
Okay. So the last book that I'm doing is Shazam. It's issue number 5. It's by Jeff Johns and Marco Santucci, and the artists are Dale Eaglesham, Scott Collins, and Max Rayner. It looks like it's a collaboration,
like different
book.
stories.
Well, they show different pages that different people wrote on. So, this is based on the Shazam movie. It's set about a year after the events of the movie.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, if you haven't seen the movie, spoiler alert, but Billy Batson meets the wizard Shazam. He gives him his powers. He fights Dr. Sylvana. In the end, he takes Sylvana's power away. And then there's a Mr. Mind, the little telepathic caterpillar, tells Sylvana that there's other ways of getting power and magic. So they have teamed up, and they're kind of the background bad guys. They don't directly fight them. So, and then Billy imbued his powers upon his 5 stepbrothers and sisters. So, like I said, this takes place about 5 years after that. So it shows sort of some of the home life for this family. So a magical door appears, and they go back to the Shazam cave, and they're exploring it, and they find a new area. There's a subway station that has a big map on it, a big map on the wall of the Magic Lands, and there's 6 Magic Lands, and then Earth is in the middle, and then there's subway cars going to each of the Magic Lands. So in the earlier issues, they had this. There's the Fun Lands, the Game Lands, the Dark Lands, the Wonderlands, the Wild Lands,
and then Earth.
Yeah, there's like one more, but so they had decided to go to the Fun Lands, which is like a big amusement park.
Mm-hmm.
And so they went there, and there's the ruler of that place is called King Kid.
Monsterlands was the other one, wasn't it?
Yes. And the Monsterlands it's like blocked off.
Right. It's you can't get to it.
Yeah. So this King Kid apparently had a horrible childhood, and he found these Fun Lands, and it's fun and games for kids, but then The second you turn 18, he banishes you to the underworld, and you're a slave there till you die, keeping the Funlands running. Okay. So, so in the beginning of this one,
last issue, Black Adam showed up at the end. Yeah. And so now this issue starts where he's kind of
he showed up, and he's like, there's a reason that all this stuff was locked away. These stupid kids are gonna unleash things that they shouldn't. He figures out where they've gone. So he heads off after them, and meanwhile the kids have been split up. Shazam, Billy, and Mary are still in the Funlands, and they're fighting King Kid. And then the
Jose and what's the other? The Chinese?
Enrique and Eugene. Jose and Eugene.
Yeah.
Get sent to the Game Lands. So, and it's all like a great big video game, and the currency is your game score. So Eugene it's like, I was born for this.
It's made to play games.
Yeah, made to play games. But you have to have an ID card. So he to get the ID card, he has to pay for it with points he doesn't have yet. So he goes in the red. He's like, I'll earn this back in no time. Well, once he goes in the red, they're like, well, you can't even be on this level.
It's level 2, yeah.
So that the other brother has to compete in the games, and he's no good at games. And Eugene, who would be good at this, can't play because...
And the reason they want to play is because they have to get 1,000,000 points in order to escape.
Yes.
And so the only way to get the 1,000,000 points is to fight this main kind of...
It's to play the game.
Yeah, and there's one game goal.
Yeah, there's a top gamer who's never been beaten.
And so, in order to get the 1,000,000 points, if they beat her, then they get the 1,000,000 points and escape.
Yep. So... Yeah, the one who can play can't play, and the one who can't play must play.
No, I didn't like it, but I thought it's kind of interesting because once he gets the negative points, all of a sudden he becomes trash, and so they're like, "You're not supposed to be here, trash! Quit talking trash!" And so,
yeah. So the other two, Freddie Freeman and what's the Darla?
I don't remember her name.
I think it's Darla, it's Freddie Freeman and Darla. They get sent to the Wildlands where it's all animals, and they hate people. People are to be fed to the tigers. So they get put on trial. And then the tigers are second-class citizens because they had teamed up with the people. So they're relegated to cages and just meant to eat people. So the mayor's an elephant. He's, tigers will never be civilized. A tiger scratched me, so I hate all tigers.
Yeah, and he's missing an eye.
It's sort of like Zootopia.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So and then meanwhile, Black Adam's closing in, and he runs into Sylvana, and they have threatening words together, and then it ends. So it's I enjoyed it. It's based, like I said, the characters are straight out of the movie. But it's self-contained, so you don't really have to have seen the movie.
I I've been reading
You
it.
didn't even know.
I've been reading all 5 issues, and I didn't even know that it was even remotely. I didn't even know it had anything to do with the movie. So.
Yes, it's all the characters are straight out of the movie.
Oh, see, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, and these characters have been in the comic books before too.
Right.
So, like, I just assumed it was just from the comic books, but I mean, that's neat to know that it's actually from the movie.
Yeah.
But not. Yeah, I've been reading since the beginning, and I have no idea.
And Sylvana with the eye,
Yeah.
and the because in the original books he was more like a Lex Luthor type,
him, like the
and
weird
now
glasses.
he's different. He's got powers, or had powers, and lost them, and so.
Poor man.
But I enjoyed this. I really enjoyed Jeff Johns. He's a very good storyteller. There's so many different plot points. It's like they can't move any one plot point very far without abandoning the others. So I'm like, okay, let's move along.
I really like that. I like that. Like, I'm actually surprised. The only thing I didn't like was that there's so many Shazam characters. I don't like. It's almost like, well, how many can you have? Why don't you have more? Like, why don't you have like? I feel like there should have been a limit on them, or some, because it used to be just Shazam, and then it was Shazam.
Well, there was a whole Marvel family. There was the
There was the Freddy, there was Mary, and then there was what was the weird grandpa uncle guy?
Yeah.
That looked super creepy. It was Freddy, right? Freddy, I think, was the other one.
No, Freddy was Captain Marvel Jr.
Yes, that's one, yeah. Captain Marvel Jr., Mary Marvel,
Pops,
and then
or something like that.
Yeah, Uncle Shazam or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, I feel like this is. I like it. I do, but because I also like that they don't have the same, like, the one kid's better at technology with his Shazam powers. The one kid's like really strong with his Shazam powers. The one girl, Darla, has speed.
She's fast.
Yeah. And then so I like that they kind of make it into different character or different feels for each character. But
well, and the Shazam power is, it's segmented. It's the strong like Hercules,
right.
and endurance of Atlas,
yes.
And so each of the sub kids kind of, the fast one has the speed of Mercury,
yeah.
and the one kid's strong, and the one
wisdom
kid
of Solomon.
has so
and I think that's fun, but then it almost seems like there's too many of them. But I don't mind that. That's probably like one of my least. I mean, that's just my little nitpicky thing. But as far as like, I really enjoyed the book. I like the characters. I like the fact that they have all these different lands that they're trying to kind of figure out. That there's an overlying arc as far as like they should be like trying to rule the lands or making them better and take care of them. And so that I like how they're going with that. I don't disagree. Like, it is kind of like they don't further a lot of the story because there's so many plot points. They haven't furthered it, but I like the fact that they split them up and they don't make them like, because obviously
and some of them can transform and some of them can't.
Right. So they kind of added a little bit of
the two in the Beastlands don't seem to be able to transform, but Billy and Mary can, and Eugene and Jose started that way.
Yeah. So it's, I think if they had the Shazam power before, because they ended up getting split up because of they fell in like the doors and stuff like that.
Well, they got King Kid banished
Mary.
Well, he banished the Freddy and Darla to the Wildlands.
Yes.
They fell in a hole or something like that.
They were trying to like get away, and
yeah,
I really like it, and I love the art. This was a split effort, but I love Scott Collins or Collins, and I like Deli Englisham's. Like, I just love their art. So, I like them when they were on JSA. they were really good, and their books were really good. So I really enjoyed it. I 4 out of 5 unicorn horns. It's one of my. I really enjoy reading Shazam so far. It's me the character.
I liked it, and you should definitely see the movie.
I have mixed feelings about that, but that's a whole other episode. So, did you get to read anything else? I know you were probably busy. You probably didn't get to read a lot.
Yeah, I had planned to, but life happened.
I totally understand. So I'm just gonna go through my pull list really quick, and then we'll finish up the show. So I did the Roadkill Club. I don't even know what to tell you. Like, it's this weird, like, there's not even words half the time. It's about these animals that they get killed, and when they get killed, like, these other ghost animals come and resurrect them into ghosts, and so then they have magic, I guess, or they try to resurrect other things. It's really awkward. I don't even know. 1 out of 5 unicorn horns, because I don't know what the heck I read. Lux by Marvel. It's kind of a fantasy story. The magic is supposed to be banned, and of course the one of the main families, the daughter has magic, and so she's trying to repress it. So she's trying to figure out a way to get rid of it. So she looks into all the secret tomes and things that she's not supposed to be looking at, and so hilarity ensues. It wasn't that great. I probably won't pick up the next one. I think it's a mini series though, anyways, but I still wouldn't. I don't. It didn't make me care enough. 1 out of 5 unicorn horns. Not that it was bad. It's just I think it was very. There's so many things out there that's done better, and so it's just not my bag. Hellchild, Blood Money. This is I like the original series. This one's not doing it for me. She's protecting this kid, and the main bad guy is kind of after this kid. This kid and his friends end up killing these prostitutes, and the guy that's like kind of like their pimp is he's really super strong, so he comes after her. But the kid's dad is really rich, so he hired Hellchild to protect him. So she's trying to protect him. The main bad guy's trying to stop, obviously get him, and hilarity ensues. It's not my favorite one. Like they've Zenescope has some much better books, and they've had some much better stories even with his character. So, Section Zero is really fun. Like
isn't it a reboot or because it's?
I don't know.
I looked it up and it said it was an Image title from like the 2005 or something. So they may have. I don't know if it's a reboot or a continuation.
I don't know. I have to look that up.
But that one caught my eye, and when I looked it up, it was like,
yeah. So this one is just further. Like series. I read the first one, and it's kind of like it's almost like a X-Files meets Fantastic Four kind of thing. They have some of them. One of the girls kind of like smart, so she's kind of like the scientist, but she's got all these little gadgets. One guy is kind of like a warrior kind of guy, so he's got like a sword. They have an alien that has like telekinetic powers and kind of can go through objects, and he's kind of like the Martian Manhunter character. They just found this like big giant sea creature looking monster that was buried under this stuff, and he was dehydrated, so they rehydrated it, and he comes back, and apparently it helped the old crew, and so he's back. So I really like it. It's a fun adventure book. It's fun, like a superhero-esque. It's kind of like I said, like a Fantastic Four meets the Challengers of the Unknown kind of book. I really enjoy it. The art's kind of really good. So yeah, I say 3 out of 5 unicorn horns, 3.5 maybe even. I'll definitely keep getting it for a little while until it's horrible, because I'll wait till a book runs into the ground. Let's see, I didn't read extra. New Agents of Atlas, number 1. It's almost like Korean Avengers. Like it's most of it's set in like Korea or the Asian countries. China, they have a Chinese character. They have some other characters that it's the War of the Realms. So Cinder, the daughter of Sutar, is there trying to take over, and she claims North Korea as like the new Misselheim. and so she's yeah, it's I liked it. I thought it was fun. I love superhero teams. I like but it's kind of it brought in Braun and Miles from the Champions, and some other like established. Mm-hmm. But most of them, like there was a Shang-Chi was in it, so it brings some of the lesser known or smaller, maybe not used characters, and then kind of adds in these new ones. There's probably about 5 or 6 like new character appearances, so I thought it was really fun. They're basically just battling fire demons, trying to save places, and then the guy from Atlas is trying to maybe hopefully recruit some of them. So yeah, I thought it was really fun. It was a fun book. War of the Realms, Journey into Mystery. They have Baldar is escaping with Odin and Freya's child, and so he gathered a team together to kind of protect the baby. They end up finding this. They end up stopping. They're in this RV, and they end up stopping in a RV camp full of Skrulls, who the Skrulls think they're there to stop there, or capture them, and they're just there to kind of hide from all the War of the Realms stuff, and so they kind of fight, and then it was really fun. Like I liked all the characters. They have some really obscure characters like Kate Bishop, Hawkeye. They have Deathlocket, that was from the what was the Murder World book. They had Miles. Miles has been in a lot of books. Like I don't know, he's like in every book. They have Baldar. Ares is after them. They have a druid from not Secret Six. That's DC. What was the one that they did with
Secret Warriors?
Yeah, Secret Warriors. The druid guy. Wonder Man's in it. So it's got some really obscure kind of characters thrown together. So it was a really fun. Little read. I really enjoyed it. I'd probably say 4 out of 5 unicorn horns. As much as I hate crossovers, War of the Realms has kind of been interesting. Like they've had some really interesting repercussions and some really interesting books come out of it. So I've actually enjoyed that one so far. Unstoppable Wasp, number 7. It is just a fun book. It is pure fun. There is like, it's not super serious. The dialogue is just very, cheesy and upbeat and fun. They do go a little bit into more like depression and mental issues with Nadia, but for the most part, it is just a fun little book. And so she goes to this birthday party, and Vision is going through like telling her all the people that are at the party how she's related to them. Like there's Jacosta's there, and then there's some other size changing people, Cassie from Young Avengers, then the what's the twins from the Young Avengers, the Quicksilver one and the Wiccan, and whatever the Quicksilver character, like how they're related to her, and so it was just really fun and quirky. Captain Marvel, they finished an arc, number 5. So they finally figure out why everybody was being drained and all this stuff, and so they finished the arc. Everybody lived, thank God. Life carries on. They beat the bad guy. Shades of Magic by V.E. Schwab, and this is kind of a magic world where there's like princes and kings and queens, and so it's okay. It's interesting. It's not like I keep forgetting about it. Not that it's bad. It's just one of those ones that I don't know if there's just not enough for me to like, oh my God, I can't wait for that next issue. It's not bad. Like I enjoy every issue I read, but I just, for some reason, it's just like, it just goes to the wayside until I see it again. I'm like, oh yeah, I've got to finish that. So it's really random. Like 3 out of 5 unicorn horns, because I do enjoy the book. Batman the Outsiders, number 1. I don't know. I think I'm just too old school to enjoy like a book like this, because I really wanted the old Outsiders, or at least more of the old
Isabella, the creator of Black Lightning, hated it, and it's encouraging everyone to not read it.
I don't know why. It wasn't that horrible. The characters they put on the team are all very non-superhero, or they're all superheroes, but they're very non-powers, like Katana, Orphan, which is kind of like, the old Batgirl, Cassie Sandsmark, or not Cassie Sandsmark, Cassandra Cain. And then Signal, which is another Batman character. So it's basically, 4 humans and Black Lightning. So I'm like, I don't know. Like, the old team was like Halo and G-Force and Katana and Black Lightning, and they just, I don't know, like Metamorpho, and they have none of them. Like, I don't know. The dialogue's a little weird. I really didn't understand. The one thing I did understand is that there's a struggle between everybody, that Black Lightning doesn't want to lead, Batman doesn't give a shit, and Katana is just there to kind of challenge him. And that's kind of what they, like, the whole book is about Black Lightning trying to lead, like, I don't want to lead, I don't want to lead, I don't want to lead. Oh, if I'm going to lead, then I need you, challenge me. Why are you doing this? Oh, because I challenged you. And it's just, I don't know. I just don't. Again, I think I'm old school, and I remember the old Outsiders, which I really enjoyed. They were kind of campy and weird, and they fought weird villains, and they had weird art, and just, it was just kind of an interesting book. And now it's just, I don't know. It's basically Gotham with a bunch of people. It's like another Batman book, which you already have like 4 or 5. So I don't know. I wish it could have been more. So 2 out of 5 unicorn horns. Not my favorite, but I'm sure somebody will enjoy it. And if you like these characters, then obviously you'll probably enjoy it more than what I did. But my old Outsiders, not my Outsiders. Hashtag not my Outsiders. So yeah. So those are my books for the week. I actually still have more that I haven't got to and still haven't read, but I eventually will get to them, I guess, at some point in life. But until then, go watch Shazam, because apparently it was pretty decent. How'd you rate it? I heard it was more the fun side. Like, I feel like DC's starting to go to kind
love it, but it was good.
Entertaining.
Yeah.
You didn't feel like you wasted your money?
Yeah. There's a lot of whining in it, which I didn't really like, but...
Well, I just feel like they kind of... The previews themselves, the reason why I didn't go watch it is because the preview themselves just made him look like it's just a goofy... Like, it's... I mean, like, he looks... Like, the costume looks stupid, he looks stupid, he acts stupid, and it's just like, I had no desire to go watch a stupid movie. But everybody that I've ever talked to or has ever said has really enjoyed it, and they thought it was actually like a good entertaining movie that was fun. So I'm probably wrong about this, which normally I am. Most of my opinions are, but
it was better than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a train wreck. I thought this is the end of this is the final nail,
this is the nail
in
the coffin.
DC's coffin, and it wasn't.
Yeah,
it went horrible. So
yeah, everybody said it has been pretty entertaining. So a lot of good family movies. So hopefully they'll keep it up. But if they don't, then I hope they continue the comic book. The comic books is really good. So until next week, I will be gone. So what I think I'll do is probably skip next week's show and post 2 shows the week after, just to review the books before and then the books currently. Or I might be so inclined to do a show while I'm gone, but a lot of times I'm not very good by myself. So, and I'm kind of most people don't want to watch me anyways, let alone like listen to me for 45 minutes long period of time. So until next week, we may not have a show, or we may have a show. I'm not for sure. You know what? Be surprised. And if you can, like, share, and subscribe, we would greatly appreciate it. We'd love to start a conversation. We've been stagnant at our subscribers, so if we could get more, we would love to have them. And turn on your bell notifications so that you can be notified when we have another amazing video. And until then, I hope your playlist is full. Bye.
Bye.